hello, giddy up, yeehaw, rodeo, other cowboy things. But hello, everybody. My name's Jana, and today we're doing a cowboy reading vlog. I, like many of you, loved and lived by Miss Elsie Silver. And when I finished Hopeless last month, I was like, what am I gonna do? How am I gonna get my cowboy fix? And so I'm now on a quest. I'm on a quest to find my next Elsie Silver. This person might not be your next Elsie Silver, but I'm gonna try to make it mine. So I've heard good things about the 3 books that I'm gonna read. I'm starting with Done and Dusted. I'm already a little bit into it. I think about like 15% of the way in. And so far I really like it. It's a brother's best friend's romance. The hero grew up with the heroine, but she comes back to town after waking up one day and deciding she's going to leave her life behind, break up with her boyfriend, and move back home. And when she goes back home, she goes to a bar, and who owns the bar? But the brother's best friend. And so they run into each other, and all of a sudden, like, they both are kind of seeing each other in this new light. So far, they haven't, like, done anything yet. Like, they haven't, like, kissed. They've just had, like, longing looks. Sometimes I do not love brother's best friend because sometimes it gets to the point where the brother kind of, it gets, like, really weirdly heteronormative, where the brother will be like, how dare you touch my sister? And I think just as someone whose brother is one younger than me and couldn't care about what I do, it's just like not relatable. I'm like, that's weird energy. And also, like, my father isn't like that. My father couldn't tell me what to do. Like, I'm a hurricane of a lady. He's just trying to survive. And also, I really like that in this one, the girl is the one who is like races horses. When it's not like just the guy who has like the cool job or is the billionaire or whatever. Like, I want the female love interest to be like interesting or have like more going on, because normally it's just like, I'm a shy little sister and I love this man, and that's like her whole personality. Like, give me a little bit more. So okay, let's go. So I'm about to be done with Done and Dusted. I want to say a few thoughts I'm having as we're getting to the ending. I just feel like this is such a classic romance novel in the fact that basically what is written on the tin is what you get inside. At least for me, it's not like amazing, like show-stopping. It's almost like a comfort, nostalgic feeling romance novel where you know all the story beats and it's like comforting. I will say, personal preference, I kind of found the sex scenes a little cringe, like light cringe. And I'm not someone who says that lightly, because I feel like a lot of people will say like, oh, I skim sex scenes or like whatever, and you can do you. But like, I do read the whole book, and most of the time I like those scenes because I feel like it's doing something with the tension, and sex scenes can do a lot for the story. Just in this case, they were a little cringy for me. The guys like sexy talk, it just like it wasn't doing it for me. If anything, I was like, uh-oh. All I could picture is if I was there, I would just be like, okay. Like, it would just a cringe. But yeah, like, I like it. It's just a very classic feeling standard romance. She kind of, in a way, reminds me of like an Elle Kennedy. Elle Kennedy writes books that I feel like they're not, oh my God, knock them out of the park. It's more, there's like a comfort to them because you know, like, the story beats because they're such like classic dynamics and like things we're comfortable with, especially if you read a lot of romance. Sometimes it can be nice to pick up a book and just like know what to expect. And I could definitely see why people love this book. They did have that like stereotypical scene where like the brother finds out and then like talks down to the hero and is like, we knew you were a piece of trash. And I'm like, why? If that guy's your friend, that's not a friend thing to say to somebody. It's not very nice. If I was someone's friend and even if I did something that maybe they wouldn't like, I would still want them to treat my person with dignity and not like throw past things in my face or like being like, I actually thought you were a pile of shit the whole time. Because then I feel like that is more about your friendship capabilities than it is about the thing that the person did that you didn't like. Because how you react to situations that you do not like does say a lot about you. Like, this trope isn't necessarily for me. I'm not looking for someone to be like exactly like Elsie Silver. I just want a cowboy book I absolutely adore the way I have with Elsie Silver's. And so even if it's in a different, absolutely adoring way, I'm more than happy for it. I don't feel like I'm looking for anything specific. I just want to know if this like subgenre of romance novels is something that can have like multiple wins for me, or if it's more, it was just the right circumstance, right time, right story, whatever for Elsie Silver. So we shall see. I do think I'm going to give Done and Dusted like a 3.5. It's usually what makes something a 4-star for me. If I could like see myself like wanting to reread this book. But since it's such like a classic storyline, like I just feel like I could pick up another book that has Brother's Best Friend if I like felt like I needed to scratch that itch to like and try something new. It's not a dud by any means. Like, I had a good time. I enjoyed it. So we'll see where it goes. Hello, good morning. So I did start, oh God, like what's this book called? It's like Tame the Heart or something. What are we taming today, boys? Yep, it is called Tame the Heart. So basically, this isn't from the synopsis. I've only read like the first chapter last night, but it seems to be about a girl named Ruby who feels like she hasn't like been adventurous enough. So naturally she made a list of stuff she wants to do, and now she's like traveling and trying to get stuff done, but she's been like kind of sheltered in her life because she has like a heart condition. But something kind of annoying happened. I highlighted it because I was like, did this have to be this way? Because it was like, I've never had good sex. I've never had an orgasm or something. And I was like, I was kind of annoyed. I mean, she could have a heart condition and still get good. But I guess the first and only time she ever had sex, she had like what she calls a flutter, which is when her like heart acts up. Can she even have the spicy scenes in this book? Now I'm like worried for her health, but I'll come back. It does say it's like a grumpy sunshine situation. I'm kind of curious to see how she meets this guy. All I know is that the guy's name is Charlie, and I'm assuming that he's gonna be the grumpy one because she seems to be like the happy-go-lucky, like, I'm gonna live my life finally. And she's like, I don't care if I die because like I've had this heart condition my whole life. So if I die, I die. I'm like, okay, Ruby, go off, queen. So we'll find out. But I think what I liked in Done and Dusted about the girl, the other side of the coin from what I think I was trying to allude to, which Ruby is like that naive kind of like innocent, almost like I'm clumsily getting through life type of heroine. I just have a hard time respecting them. I feel like I'm a force of nature kind of lady. Like I take life by storm. So I'm like, you're just like letting shit happen to you. She gets into like a silly goofy car wreck literally on the first page. Like, it's not a spoiler. We find out that she has like an overprotective dad and an overprotective brother. Really like drive home that she's like been like overprotected, like sheltered. Like her brother, when she starts going on her adventure to go like get this list completed, her brother's like, where are you? Tell me where you are. And he keeps trying to like trick her into telling her where she is. Like, maybe it's also because I only have a younger brother, so I'm like, my brother asked me where I was, I'd be like, go back to middle school. Like, I don't know. My brother's 25. And he would never ask me where I am. But see if I can find her like list of things so we can see the fascinating journey I'm about to be on. I'm a little worried because also this book is almost 500 pages, and I'm like, oh, her name is Ruby Bloom, and it's Ruby Bloom's to-do list in parentheses. So do it. She's just a fun little gal. So number one was, oh yeah, I forgot about this one. So number one was get a tattoo, but she already got a tattoo, and she got a tattoo. It was so stupid. It was like of an EKG, because since heart problem, it was like an EKG line on her finger. I'm like, girl, you don't gotta make your heart condition your whole personality. And then number two is have sex. Period. Good sex. Go Ruby. Number three, stay up all night and see the sunrise. She's crazy. Number four, see a California sunset. So she's coming to my part of the world to see a sunset. And then five, swim in the Pacific. I don't know where she was before. I kind of automatically assume small town romances all take part in the Midwest, even when they don't. I'm just like, that's where I assume the Cowboy is in like Texas and like just like the middle section. I don't even know how true that is, because I guess like Montana's over here, but I digress. The hero from this book, Charlie, he's kind of giving me Knox from the things we never got over. Yeah, he's just like a very stereotypical grumpy hero guy. He works at like a guest services ranch type situation, and I'm like, should he be working there? Like, I don't know. It would be like Luke Danes running the Dragonfly. Like, that's the vibe I'm getting. They did give a reason for his grumpiness. So when he was 24 and he used to do rodeo, his fiance died. So now he's angsty. So I'm glad he at least has a reason, because most of the time it's just like, grumpy boy, don't believe in love. And I'm like, okay. So sometimes when I'm reading a book, I feel like I can predict, at least in romance, like what the third act breakup could potentially be. And this one, I think it's gonna be because his fiance died and Ruby has a heart condition. I think he's gonna see it as like a foregone conclusion that she's going to, and I think that's where some drama's gonna be, because he's gonna be angsty and he's gonna be like, I've already lost one woman. I will say I did get a little excited because one of the brothers in the book, and I'm assuming it's gonna follow the brothers, because why else would one man have four brothers if we're not gonna see them all fall in love? One of them is a bull rider. And that did make me a little excited. I was like, yes. I feel like I'm feeling a little more into it now that we have like his side of things, because I feel like Ruby is gonna kind of be giving naive heroine. I'm hoping we see that she like has a backbone, something with a little more gusto to her. There is a bit of a jump scare because they went out to the bar to drink and they mention that there's a law enforcement motorcycle club, which to me reads possible cop lover. So I'm like, so far, none of the brothers are cops, which thank God. One of them is like a military veteran, cop light, but I'm getting a little nervous, because I feel like in small town or cowboy romances, sometimes it's like, can I tell whether or not this author's a Republican? Because we're in the weeds. And so as soon as they start mentioning like law enforcement, I'm like, I'm on to you. Oh my God. I'm blushing, but we all know from Chestnut Springs, you wear the hat, you ride the cowboy. You wear the hat, you ride the cowboy. Hello, good morning. So I finished Tame the Heart last night before I went to bed. It was really good. I wanted to kind of talk about like what I think worked in this one, and I think what worked for me is like one, the found family aspect, I think, of small towns like really gets me in because I like that idea, even though I didn't grow up in a small enough place to like have that. But I feel like that'd be so nice if I like knew my neighbors, you know? Like I'm sure it comes with some downfalls. But I think also what I really liked was the brothers. The brothers are like very fleshed out, even though there's kind of a lot of them. Like he has 4 brothers and a sister. And so, and they all kind of have like, I can't explain like what kind of names they are, but his brothers are like Davis, Wyatt, Ford, Grady. Like they're kind of like similar in a way. Like I can't explain that to you. You're just gonna have to do the mental math yourself. So sometimes I'd be like, wait, which brother is this? But I feel like by the end, like they were pretty fleshed out, and I was like, yes, this is what's going on, because you kind of get a glimpse of what's going on in like their personal lives. And that's something I really like in romance, is when the side characters like feel like they have kind of fleshed out lives that are like happening. And you definitely see like some of the like townspeople like have full lives, and I really liked that about it. I also think this book, I would compare it to like a Hallmark movie, because it was like a little more like touching or a little more like cheesy in places. And sometimes that really doesn't work with me. I don't really like it when authors try to make me emotional. But this one I felt like earned it, like instead of, because sometimes it feels like authors are like, you're supposed to feel sad now. And then I get like revenge angry because I'm like, how dare you tell me how to feel? The way this one was, it just really hooked me. So I settled on 4 stars. Like I just had a really good time, and I was like smiling. I was looking forward to reading it. I mean, I read it in 2 days, and it was a 500-page book, and I've kind of been in a funk. And so the fact that that went so well, I was like, oh no, like the joys, like there's still good things out there. I will say there was like one kind of cheesy thing that wasn't working for me, is the girl had this thing where she would call it like her sunflower or her thorn, which was basically like her sunflower was like the good thing of that day, and the thorn was the bad thing of that day. And I was just kind of like, okay, that's like a little too Lifetime movie for me. Like it just feels fake. Like I'm like, I don't think a real person would exist this way. In Done and Dusted, I kind of zeroed in on what made the hero like a little more cringe for me, and I think it was because that guy kept calling her like sugar. And like that, like maybe it's, I live in California, no one's calling anyone sugar, but in this one, like he would just like randomly call her darling. He would call her sunflower or like something like that. And like, I guess like that works for me a little more. Like sunflower's a little like, ugh. Like pet names or nicknames or whatever, they really can set whether or not a romance works for you or not, because if the pet name's cringy, you're just like, ee. The intimate scenes weren't cringy, and I do appreciate like the pacing of this book, because I almost thought they like hooked up too soon, because I was like, there's still so much left of this book, but I feel like the author did a really good job pacing wise, because it still like kept you in it, and you were like, okay, like this is going. It's definitely not like the spiciest book I've ever read, but I feel like in Small Town, like you just want a little bit, keep you going, you know? The next book I'm picking up is When It Burns. And from what I can tell so far, it's a high school teacher and the new chief of the firefighters. But I will say When It Burns reminds me of a UTI. So every time I see that title, I'm like, that's a little cringe. And I get it, it's because he's a fireman, but like maybe not. But right now, honestly, I'm only like a chapter in, or like 2 chapters in. It's potentially like now sitting in my mind that I might DNF it, because it starts out she has to do like a fire drill at work, and this is how she meets the hero. And so she takes her students outside, and when she comes back inside, he's like in her classroom, but he's like yelling at her in front of the students about her having like a candle and that her door wasn't shut all the way, and just like how unsafe it is. And I just feel like it's giving immaturity. Like maybe it's because I'm in office culture. So I'm like, you pull that person aside. You take them away from the people they're in charge of to like give that feedback. Like, so something's not sitting right with me about it. And also they keep putting like exclamation points when he's talking. And so it just seems like extra dramatic. So I'm gonna give it a little bit more time, but I will also say it's reading like a little overwritten. Like I feel like they could have tightened it up. I think the way you can tell, at least for me, I feel like you can tell when something's overwritten because the dialogue will be so long. Like, I feel like you want the flow. You want things to like keep moving forward. And so if he's already like talking in paragraphs, I'm just like, Also, like, I just don't think men should have that much to say. I'm like, he's there to be pretty. Also, it was like a little cringe because like as she's walking up to him, she's like, he has great biceps. And I'm like, okay, but if he's a firefighter, like checking out the thing, is he not in his like suit? Like, how can you, like, that's a little like, is he not suited up for a potential fire? Or I guess if it's a fire drill, maybe he's not all suited up and he's in like a t-shirt, but they don't really explain what he's wearing. She's just like, he's sculpted. I'm like, okay, I'm like, please hang on. Then he brings up, like, out of nowhere, like I said, in front of her whole class of students, he's like, and the last fire chief, like, let people get away with all of this. I'm just like, okay. And, like, in the heroine's head, she's like, everyone loved this guy. Everyone, like, felt like he was family and he was very close to the town. And so it is just kind of cringy. So I'm hoping to keep going, but this might be a DNF. I mean, the first two books worked pretty well for me, so I'm not going to be, like, too upset if this one just ends up kind of being a dud. This is kind of what happens once you've read so much romance that you start, like, digging through what I call, like, the weeds. Like, you're searching for the diamond in the rough. Book definitely has an audience. Like, I can see that people read it on KU, but not everything's going to be for you. Especially, like, this is something I've talked about a lot with my friends, is I feel like whatever your preferred genre is, you do so much reading in that genre, you almost get hypercritical because you know what works for you and what doesn't work for you. And so someone who's new to the genre might, like, give a ton of 5 stars. And I've definitely done that when I'm, like, trying out a new genre, because it's, like, the first time you've seen maybe the story structure, that kind of plot. So I just know what works for me and what doesn't work for me. So I feel like I get, like, a really good gauge when I just need to DNF. So I did end up DNFing that book because, 1, I didn't like how he treated her, and then 2, I even skipped ahead to be like, okay, like, sometimes I'll do this with romance books where I will skip to an intimate scene to see if it's readable. It wasn't. It wasn't. So we moved on. So we were done. And you know what? It's all right, because I got something I liked. I got something I loved. And we got a little DNF. And you know, every DNF just helps you get through your TBR. So thank you for joining me as I went through my Yeehaw Rodeo experience, my cowboy romance era. This was really fun to do. Helped me get back out there. I actually now really want more, like, small town romances. I think I just really love, like, the connectiveness of everyone in the town. And because it's almost like forced proximity always. And that's probably one of my favorite tropes. So we're going to keep going. But thank you for watching.